Everybody, welcome to another episode of a Serious Business Podcast. We got Sam Caudill, not Caudill, Sam Caudill from WinterBearStudios. We actually recorded the episode a little. We tried to record it before, but we had some technical difficulties. Thankfully, all those things are now figured out. Sam, how you doing?
Doing good. Definitely. I have solid internet. It's a nightmare for at least a week and a half. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So tell us about yourself, about what you do, and why I think you're interesting, basically.
Yeah, so I own a video game dev company. We're located in Colorado. It's just a small company. There's just 7 of us. We've been a company in November. It'll be our 6th year going. So yeah, I mostly do all the animation and rigging and stuff like that in the game. But yeah, Winter Bear Studio. We've been working together for many years before we were actually a company. We all worked at the same company before, and that company went bankrupt all of a sudden. So we all found ourselves out of the job at the same exact time. So we decided to kind of combine forces and do our own thing. It's been going pretty well so far.
That's sick. Did you guys decide on how to approach it and just take out a loan, or was it personal money that was spent?
Yeah, that was one of the fortunate things out of this whole bankruptcy, because this original company we all worked for, they were located in California. So as we were, closing down the place, we hit them up. We're like, okay, so all these office desks and chairs and computers and stuff, how do you guys want to arrange us sending them back to California? They got back to us and they're like, it's going to cost us more to have that shipped to California. So have at. So we got kind of like a good startup seed of, 10 computers.
That's sick.
And, office stuff. Yeah, definitely.
And obviously all the software is still on the PC. So all those expensive apps that you guys use are basically already on there.
Yeah. And this was back in 2015. So right before all the subscription-based plans started up. So we actually still have software that we can use. It's getting old, but it still works.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I mean, out the gate, it was kind of tough. It's kind of hard to just start your own video game company without some seed funding or something like that. But we kind of got lucky. We fell into more of a training sort of software and game sort of design stuff. So a lot of our bread and butter work is doing training. For instance, we've worked with Pfizer doing clean room environments, and that's where a scientist is in a lab, mixing chemicals and stuff like that. So the idea there is when they train in real life, it's really expensive because they have to shut down an entire clean room, bring people in. They all have to suit up and things like that. So they reached out to us so we can just make that in VR. So you can just throw on a headset and you're in the same environment. You're using the same tools. You're getting those reps in. You don't have all the exact same feedback, but you're able to kind of go through that entire process. So
it's more about the steps, the procedure that you do it in, rather than how precise you are with certain things, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a lot of the learning that, they need to kind of get across to people, is make sure they follow the right steps in the right order, stuff like that. Yeah, the actual doing of it, that's nuance that comes with the actual doing, but yeah,
of course,
helps them memorize it a lot better.
With VR games, when you make VR games, again, I have no idea how any of the VR stuff works because I don't have one of those headsets. I'm gonna assume that when you make something for VR, like a video game or a simulation, it basically works on all of the VR headsets, correct? There's not like a Mac system or a Windows system.
Yes and no. Because there are a lot of different VR headsets. There's like the Vive, the Oculus, the Windows mixed reality, and everyone's coming out with new things. We're able to kind of port between a lot of them pretty easily, but depending on how the controls are set up, we have to do a lot of back end things. Um, our biggest thing with our current game, it's on VR, but regular desktop VR. We eventually want to get it onto that Oculus Quest, and that's the standalone headset. You don't need a computer or anything like that, but you have to kind of dial back the graphics and stuff like that to make it run. Because any video game, it needs to run at least 60 frames a second to be passable. So
Yeah, nowadays.
yeah, definitely. Well, especially in VR, because because
Of
of
course.
tracking and movement, if it starts going less than 60 frames a second, your brain picks up on it immediately. And it
What
kind of
what frame do we actually run at? Like the human eye or brain, or
that's a
if
good question. I'm
like
not sure.
I always thought it was around like, because we have those monitors, right? Those gaming monitors, and most people claim like, oh, above 144 hertz, you don't really see the difference. And then you have some people that are like, no, you do notice it because I got a 250 or whatever the fuck. And they're like, I do notice the difference. And I'm sitting there like, well, I saw most of them growing up. Like obviously, uh, when most games were made back in the day, they had like 30 FPS, and then we hopped onto 59/60, and then now we're like, for example, playing Rocket League or any other shooting game at 144 hertz. And for me, the biggest difference was from 60 to 144 hertz. So I'm sitting there like, okay, but you
Gotcha.
know,
Yeah, I think it is a little bit faster than 60 frames per second, but that's kind of the benchmark that you want to
yeah.
hit. Yeah.
Okay, so like the motion sickness and stuff starts happening usually below 60 hertz, because we
Yeah,
were talking about
once
this
it
before.
drops. What's that?
We
Oh
were
yeah,
talking about this before, yeah.
yeah, once it drops below 60 frames a second, you'll start to feel and notice, a little slight lag, and that can set you off real quickly.
Yeah.
So
What's
there's a
the
lot of
what's
nuance to VR.
what's the name of your game? Plug it right here, man. Let people
Its
know.
range is hot, so it's a competitive shooting game. Basically, a lot of the guys in our company, they're all hunters and shooters, and we've all wanted to get into multi-gun. Multi-gun's like a real world sport where you go through a course shooting at targets, and you're swapping between pistol, rifle, and shotgun. So we want to try it, but if you want to just learn this sport, you have to show up to the range with 500 rounds of 5.56 ammo, 500 rounds of 9mm ammo, and 200 rounds of shotgun ammo. So not only is ammo almost impossible to come by right now, it's extremely expensive. So yeah, we thought the next best thing is to just build it ourselves in VR so we can play
What's
it all the time.
why is it hard to get by, bro? You got a huge military industrial complex going on over
I think because of the pandemic and everything, there was like a
there.
lot of like they I don't know, pull the reins on production. But yeah, you go to any sports store now and you can't find any ammunition.
Wow.
Yeah, there's like wait lists and things like that.
Because most people make the
Yeah.
connection that, oh, pandemic, oh, a little bit of the economy getting fucked up, people getting paranoid and buying guns and ammunition.
That too. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
That's a
Like
real thing?
gun buying was at an all-time high last year. Yeah, it's
Wow.
crazy. Yeah, that's American, man.
Look, I'm not against guns. Like, I don't live in a country where everyone owns a gun. It's really hard to get a gun over here in the Netherlands, but like that says something about the mindset of people, doesn't it? It's like I'd rather shoot and hurt someone than try to fix the problem before it happens, kinda.
Right, but it's also this looming fear of, just everything's gonna collapse and now I have to protect my stuff. I don't know.
We have it good. We have it really good.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Like, what we're doing right now is a luxury, man. We're living a good life.
I agree. 100%.
Like we should
Definitely.
we should really be grateful. And I really thought that the pandemic would really tell people how good we have it over here in the West, in Europe or in America, Canada, whatever. It's like we can obviously we're gonna complain, but we really shouldn't complain about most things, honestly.
Right, right. I know. My biggest complaint is laggy internet. Woe is me. Yeah.
So you own a gaming company, game
Yeah.
developer, game developing
hmm
company. Now you did mention you're in the graphics side of it, but I'm still gonna bother you with a lot of questions that I have about gaming developers because this is kind of like a dream for me coming true, being able to talk to someone who actually works in that industry. So I'm gonna ask a lot of ignorant, stupid shit, and I just want you to be just straight up honest. Just be like, Turk, that's a stupid question, but
No worries, man. Yeah. Fire away.
how do you even start? Because ideas are plenty. There are 13 in a dozen. Let's say we got the idea. We want to do something. What's the first brick that you lay down as a company?
Yeah. So right out the gate, you want to flesh out your game design. We kind of have like a document template, and it just runs. It's all just a document that you're filling out. So like, what is the main gameplay or idea of your game? It gets all the way down into the nuance of like, if you want to sell it, how are you going to make revenue on it? Is it going to be like one of those mobile games with ad share? But that's, further down the line. Just the base idea of the game, you kind of want to, dot your I's and cross your T's on everything of what your game will be, just so you can kind of, instead of just having a cool little thought for some bit of a gameplay, you actually think through the whole process of like, okay, if this really was a game I could buy tomorrow, what is
Ah,
everything in here from the main menu all the way through? And really on the game design doc side, you don't drill down on the details of how every menu works, but you go through all the stuff, like is it multiplayer? Is there guns? How many guns? Yada yada. So once you have that, you have kind of a well-rounded idea of what your game will be, and then you gotta jump into actually carving it out. So what we do, it's called gray boxing.
mhm.
It's basically, and it's also called like a vertical slice. You basically want to make a quick and rough functionality of your game, like how that game is going to work. Just get the core stuff. You don't need art yet. You don't need, any fancy particle effects.
Like something
You-
bare bone that is just like nothing fancy, just a bare bone prototype, basically.
Yeah. Like if you were going to make Rocket League from scratch, your gray box would literally be a square room and a box and a sphere, and get the mechanic of this guy jumping at the ball, hitting that ball, flipping, and then you go from there because you
Mhm.
want to get the functionality first before you worry about any details. So, yeah, that's kind of like the launching off point, and then it just gets bigger and messier and crazier from there
Obviously,
on
like when
out.
you solve one problem, like two others arise, and you solve those two, it's just like four problems arise. It's a continuous
Oh,
thing.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we've worked on games where we were 2 months into it when we realized that our characters couldn't jump because of the way we had the physics. It was one of these side scroller kind of fighting games. And so our physics engine had their feet kind of stick to the ground just so the animation, because they were walking up and down these platforms. Um, but yeah, we were midway development, and then we're like, oh, they can't
Shit.
jump because of the way we've built this. It's like, okay, so not totally back to the drawing board, but shoehorning in some different things to make it work.
Hmm.
So yeah.
That sounds like a bitch. Like you're so far into it, and you like realize like. But how did it take you guys 2 months to realize that the character didn't jump? Like that's the first thing I do when I get in the game. Just smash the spacebar button.
Right. Yeah. I don't
It's
know.
one of those very
Those
obvious
things
things.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really have any jumping characters until then. It was kind of like I don't know if you ever played the game Worms.
I love
Uh,
worms.
yeah, it was that sort of game. So, were walking around shooting stuff, and so we had all the
Oh my
interactive
god.
stuff. So like Worms isn't really a jumping game, but I think can you jump in
You
Worms?
can jump. Yeah,
Okay,
bro. I
yeah.
remember that vividly. I was in elementary school and my parents bought me my first PC and it was a Windows PC from what's the name of the company again? They're bankrupt now. Something with a C, I think. Campbell, something like that.
Yeah. Huh.
And we had to like most people listening to this probably won't know unless they're like around my age or a little bit older. We had to buy CDs. They were like in this album type of thing, like this plastic thing that you open up and it had Worms 2 on it. And every time I called back from school when I was like a little kid, I start that game up. And to start the game, you actually had to put the CD in every single time.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'll play that game hours on end because we didn't have internet back then. At least we couldn't
Yeah.
afford it. It's like, wow, I love that game so much. It was Worms 2.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
never
that was
forget.
fun.
That was so good. That's awesome. You said something about physics and game engines. That brings us a little bit back to Rocket League because there's now a whole discussion going on, and they want to move from Unreal Engine 3 to possibly 4 or maybe 5. Now, I know, and I don't understand, but I know that, for example, Unreal Engine is just this quote unquote world or this literal engine that something's built upon. For example, the physics and yada 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 that just comes with it, and you just put your building blocks on top of there. What what's the fucking big deal? Like what is like I've been told that it makes games run more efficient, it makes games run better, you can get higher graphics, so you get more for basically less performance. First of all, why is it that people with older PCs then aren't able to play something on Unreal Engine 5? And is this really a big deal as it has been made?
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of that hubbub about please make it in Unreal 5. We develop in Unity. That's another game engine. So I'm not as familiar with Unreal. Um, but as far as I understand, Unreal Engine 5 how it handles graphics better. And I'm honestly I don't I'm kind of talking out of my ass a little bit, but uh yeah, I mean it's just the newer, better one, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think it's just that Unreal 5 they've they've made it so it handles graphics a ton times better. Um, I remember watching some of the teasers for how they are coming out with Unreal 5 stuff, and there's this new, I can't remember the name of it, but basically you can have a bajillion polys in scene and it renders it real time and it looks great.
Hmm.
And so I guess for that it's polishy. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff under the hood. I'm sure it's probably, better at networking and things like that. But I don't see what's broken in Unreal 4, or is it in Unreal 3 that it's on right now?
I
I'm
think
not too
right now
sure.
we're in 3.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so yeah, I'm guessing just a better performance overall. But for Rocket League to make that switch, I mean, it sounds simple, but
Yeah.
you bring something to the new version and then certain plugins or certain scripts that you wrote get completely janked up and messed up on the previous version.
Yeah.
Uh,
'Cause it's
when
gonna
we
bring
work on
in it's gonna
what's
bring
that?
in more trouble, right?
Yeah, well, and there will be like entire teams just focusing on transition.
Hmm.
When we work on projects, usually once we kick off a project, we have to stick to that version all the way through, and even for a year after that project's out, just for support and stuff like that, because you can't just quickly update and everything runs smoothly. That almost never happens with any computer software. So,
Yeah, we know
but yeah,
that.
I thought I had seen. I was kind of googling in the background. I thought I had seen something where Rocket League does have plans, but I couldn't find that article I found.
Yeah, I
Oh
feel
yeah,
like they. I feel like they accidentally leaked it, or it's supposed to look like an accident because they dropped it once and then it was like everybody shut the fuck up. And then obviously every YouTuber and their man just jumped on the bandwagon of, oh my god, look at this leak. Oh my god, look at the exclusive content I have. And I'm sitting there
Yeah,
like, okay, but what's the big fucking deal?
right. Yeah, it's still the same game, man.
Like there's so many other things that I wish they would do than to switch to an engine.
Yeah, okay. See, the thing I found, it looks like it was just a teaser headline because it says Psyonix confirms Rocket League move into Unreal 5, but the actual article sounds like it's just hearsay. So,
Love that.
yes.
Love those
Yeah.
things. Just love
They
it.
confirm, said someone on their tweet blog. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I did a terrible job of answering that question, but
Hey, it's fine. Like at least you don't bullshit people. That's I can appreciate it. You're like, hey, I work on Unity. Don't know about Unreal Engine. Next question.
right.
Yeah,
It
look.
is definitely something we want to get into. We've been using Unity for a long time, and it's good for what we do. It's
Mhm.
it's pretty intuitive to us. And Unreal is just kind of like a new software. We've actually worked on projects in Unreal. Um, we've we helped out another Colorado company, Ilphonic. They worked on Friday the 13th. So
Hmm,
since we're also local, Ilphonic's also in Colorado, they shoulder tapped us to kind of help them out. So
that's
got
cool.
to get my hands dirty in Unreal and also work on a cool game. I don't know if you ever played Friday the 13th.
No, but
It
I've
was a
seen the
pretty fun
movies.
one. Yeah, it's scary, man. Definitely. Well, it's one
I
of those
love
asymmetrical games where, it's everyone versus Jason. And
I love Jason. I was just about to say that. I love Jason.
yeah, and he makes
Jason
some
Voorhees.
ridiculously violent kills in that game. Like
Wait a
there's one
minute.
where yeah.
Is that the game that I think you're talking about, where you're running from him, hiding and stuff? And it's like I remember this red over the screen, maybe. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think I know
I
that game. I
think
think I've
so.
seen. It's been a couple years now since release, right?
Yeah, so you're like the camp counselors. You have to, get the
Yeah.
keys to the
You
car to escape.
you worked on that?
Yeah, I mean just some little UI help with it.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, it's
That's
pretty
really cool.
fun.
Damn. So, by the way, now that you say UI, I remember when the update on Rocket League dropped, when we went free to play and they changed the UI, and like everyone was like, "This UI sucks. It's bad. The user
Oh,
experience is
dude.
like that." And then we had a
Yeah,
little
that drove me
conversation,
nuts.
you and me. Like, this is actually what you do, and you're just sitting there like, "Oh my god! Like, I cannot believe that this is happening."
Yeah, and that was one I was scratching my head at. Like, I don't know if, when Epic bought Rocket League, if there was something where they had to redo the UI, but it was just back asswards. I mean, because you couldn't queue in a playlist of modes.
Yeah,
Like, there was a lot of things that they broke that were working fine, and it was just to make it look prettier. I don't know, but
I don't.
they're slowly bringing it back. I'm sure everyone was screaming at them because of it. But
I don't mind. I don't mind UI changes. Every once in a while, it just freshens things up. I like it. But to me, at least, like from the outside perspective, as a consumer, when I look at things, I'm like, I'm sure you guys test this. Like literally, no one there from that team tried to queue multiple playlists at a time. Like no one was like, "Oh, this might look a little bit ass," or it's a very
right,
simple things. It's a little bit
yeah,
bothersome.
yeah. Yeah, because there's UI and then UX, and UX is user experience, and like things like how easy is it to navigate and find stuff, how easy is it to queue up with your friends.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax. They both have to talk with each other, but a lot of times UX gets lost in the dust because people are obsessing on how the UI looks.
I mean, it's kind of like with other things, isn't it? I'm sure you probably have it as well when you're doing your job. But for example, if if there's anyone in here listening who works on music, it's the same thing. If you're trying to make an instrumental or a beat or like or anything, and you listen to something like 30 times in a row in a span of 10 minutes, like I have that with video editing when I edit podcasts and stuff. I listen to something 30 times in 10 minutes, it's all of a sudden it just sounds like gibberish, like plain English sounds like gibberish. It doesn't make any sense. It's like once you're constantly being exposed to the same thing over and over again, it's just like you don't see the most obvious things. I can kind of understand.
Yeah, and that's a big challenge in UX too, because when you're developing the game and you've run through that process to get to that menu, it seems like second nature to you, and then you hand it off. A lot of times when we want to test our game, we do blind tests where we don't tell them anything about the game. We don't tell them, oh, you grab with this, you do that. We just give it to them and let them play it.
Hmm.
And it's surprising the things that you find that seem like second nature to you, like the average user just is completely confused about. So you have to, you know, make sure you listen and watch and understand what they're having frustrations with so you can tackle that and change it.
Are these like people in like close circle friends or whatever, or is this like an actual team within a company? Because I don't assume that you can use the same people to do a second blind test because now they're exposed to it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, especially since we're such a small company, we'll just bring in friends or like, my nephew, I'll bring him in to play for the first time. But yeah, like you said, they can't blind test twice, it only happens once. But yeah, it's pretty interesting how all that shakes out.
You're the cool uncle with the video games.
Right?
That's dope. I wish my uncle was cool like that.
Yeah, I get to be the art guy. They all look up to me.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think you got a really cool job. I think it's interesting. I think it's new. It's not something that it was. I don't want to say like your job is easy, but it's not as common. Sorry, now it's a lot more common to do what you do rather than like 20, 30 years ago. Like when I was a kid, you made video games. You were like a walking prophet, basically. Like every
Oh
kid looked
yeah.
up to you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's crazy. Would you recommend people to try to get into game developing in whatever branch it is?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the gumption and if you can stick to it, if you are, I don't know, if you have like an eagerness to learn how to make games and you like going under the hood to see how they're made, the softwares they have now, they're getting more and more intuitive. Like I
Mhm.
didn't start out as a game developer. I got my degree in animation and I did animation for years. I had a buddy who was working for a game company and he told me they were hiring. So when they were hiring, part of the resume process is you have to give them a game demo, like a working, it could be a simple little level. And I know I told you this when we recorded last time, like I cut my teeth, learned how to code, learned Unity, and I made like a little watering can game where you walk around and water a tomato plant because this company's logo was a tomato. So yeah, it was really simple. I mean, I don't even think there was any score that you got at the end. It was just like, this game kind of works. But with the softwares that are out there now, because back in the day, you had to compile code, and like when you compile code, that's where it's kind of checking, making sure it's not going to crash and things like that. And it used to be a long process. Now in Unity, I can just make a quick little change to a script, press play, and then it'll say, nope, error, this doesn't work at all. Or
Wow.
maybe it will. Like I want to push a button that will open a door. So I write a little script, press play. Nope, it doesn't work. So then I, hit stop, look at my code, make a little change, press play. Okay, it works, but now the door's open in the wrong way. Stop, make a little change. So it's a lot easier to iterate on now than it used to be. So if you want to learn how to, do game dev, it's not incredibly difficult, at least from my side, I'm more the art guy, animation guy. I'm not making new stuff. The programmers in our company, they're brilliant guys who just almost invent new ways of
Yeah. Look,
doing stuff.
I've said this before publicly. I think that if you want to be a programmer or a code, whatever the fuck it's called, with all due respect, you got to be a little bit of a sociopath. Like it's crazy. Like I've seen from friends who do programming, they've shown me their work, and it is for me, it's like utter gibber. It's like me trying to read like a Aramaic tablet from like 5,000 years ago. It's like what the fuck is that? Like
Right.
that
And
on its own looks
it
like a
is
big error.
right. It is a foreign language, you know. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wild. I mean, and that's the thing is like if you want to learn a foreign language, you got to sit down and do it a lot. You know, I've tried to learn a couple languages, but I never stuck to it. If I did it like I got into games, I might be able to speak Arabic by now.
So I think they do. Nowadays you got studies and courses in different branches of game development that you can take, right? So like the programming bit, the artistical bit, or the graphics bit, and marketing, and or am I wrong? That's a real thing, right?
I mean, if you're going to school for it, they usually are pretty comprehensive on all of it. And if you're going for specifically like game development, it's most likely going to be more on the coding side,
Mm,
but they'll teach you the ins and outs of all of that stuff. So,
okay.
but yeah,
That's
I
cool.
mean, on my side, just because I have an animator background, I deal all with, you know, the models in games, making them all optimized. Because to run stuff in game, your characters have to be low poly, and you have to do all sorts of cheats with normal maps and things like that to make it work.
Mhm.
Texture atlasing. I don't know if I'm talking gibberish to you now, but
No, no, no. I'm actually following you. I hope everyone else is. I'm kind of following you.
okay,
Surprisingly,
cool.
yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
like
and like that, you know, there's just facets to every part of the game dev
of course.
process, you know.
Yeah, of course. What do you think of the graphics in game? Like, I'm not sure if you have a personal style. I know that most artists have that. Like, I got a very good friend, Haddon. He's got a very particular style on which he likes to draw things or design logos or whatever he does in his free time. If you could have a touch of your own style in Rock League, what's one of the things that really like if you have it, what would it be? What would you do? Is there like a car that you favorite because of the way it looks? Is there something that you would like to change?
Right. I mean, I've always been like a cartoony kind of fan,
Oh hell
so
yeah. Hell yeah.
all those I mean, and I think it's like one of the basic shaders on the car is that toon shader,
I
but
love
I
you.
like that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, me too. I love that. There's this
Yeah.
goal explosion which sounds like those 1940s, 1950s, like Pachoo! Like I can't
Yeah,
make this.
yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite one.
I've
It
wanted
just
to find that one forever, but
yeah, I love it. That's like for example in Rumble, my favorite power up to use is like that glove. It's just so
oh,
cartoony.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, because I grew up on Bugs Bunny and all that stuff, and that was kind of the cartoons that I really love to do. I think my first 3D animation was a Wile E. Coyote falling off a cliff. So, yeah,
They
that
used to
sort of
call
stuff.
me Bugs Bunny. That was my nickname.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because when I was a bit younger, when I spoke, like still to this day, if you like, probably people already noticed if they're watching this on YouTube, when I speak, you can kind of see my two front teeth sticking out more than the rest, and they use like this buck teeth, like right in Dutch, it's like they'd call it rabbit teeth, so they would just call me Bugs Bunny. Like that used to be my nickname, but I used to love Bugs Bunny, so I was totally fine with that nickname.
You're like, I'm down. Huh.
Yeah, let's
That's
go.
awesome.
He's like, "What's up, Doc?"
Nice.
Like,
Start bringing carrots with you everywhere you
yeah.
went.
But
Uh,
like that's one of the things that just never aged. Like it aged really well. Like Looney Tunes, still like if you show it to a kid nowadays, they will still love that shit. It's timeless.
oh
Love it.
yeah, yeah, it's timeless. Yeah,
It's great.
definitely.
Quickly get back on the developing bit about video games. I'm very curious about one more thing. Um, what is the hardest thing to do about video games? Just everything encompassing. So like I would assume that marketing would be one of the hardest things to do for a company.
Yeah, that's big, mainly because marketing, you need dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, like with our game Range is Hot, the main reason we jumped into making it is because we had some downtime, pandemic and everything. Business was kind of slow, so
Mhm.
we just wanted to make a cool, good feeling VR shooter. Um, but yeah, so we have that out. We're still in early access. I think we're coming close to our 6 month window that we estimated we'd be in early access. But we have like one more thing that we need to build for it. But getting it out there and getting people aware of our game has been a whole job in itself. And I'm kind of tackling a lot of the marketing for our company. So we're actually going to go to a shooting event this Sunday
Mhm.
down in Colorado Springs. Um, so I've been blindly, reaching out to different gun ranges because those are the people that we really want to play our game. It's not just a shoot 'em up zombie killer game. This is like a extremely accurate simulation with realistic looking guns and all for sportsman shooters.
Mhm.
So they're our demographic. I hit up this guy. I was like, "Hey, I saw you have an event on Sunday. Wondering if we could set up a vendor booth down there." And he got back to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I own that game. It's fucking awesome. Like,
Get the
we'll
fuck out of
set you up."
here.
Yeah, so we're getting hooked up with that. He's actually planning to have the whole pre-event talk right next to our booth and introduce us. So I
Oh
was
man.
expecting like a trade show thing where we're gonna have to like, dangle free keychains to get people to come over, but we're gonna be like front and center. So
That is
pretty
dope.
excited. Yeah, definitely.
That's
I'm
great.
really, really stoked.
What are the chances? Oh, I mean, the chances. Well, no. What are the chances? Like, you wouldn't expect that. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so that's been the tough part of our game is that it's more a niche sort of game. I mean, anyone can play it, and I think a lot of people would like it, but the people that are really going to like it are the people that know about that sport or are interested in that sport.
Of course.
So that's been kind of the challenge. And again, going back to marketing dollars, like when we came out with the game, we tried to do some Facebook ads with, I don't know, different
Don't
results, I
don't
guess.
do it. I almost fell in that same trap for my own community, for my own like Twitch content. I'm still thinking about it, but that's just expensive.
Yeah, and I mean, even with your channel, I'm sure branching out and how to market, who to market to is a lot of stuff that is tough to kind of dial down and figure
Yeah.
out where to
I want to
go.
ask you something cheeky. I want some insider information as someone who's got his game on Steam. How much intel do you guys have when you make a sale on Steam? How much do you know? Can you tell anything about demographics? How your sales are going? Does Steam treat you differently? Like,
All
give us
right.
something on the inside. I'm very curious.
Steam sales tools are awesome. I mean, they'll show you, day over day exactly, who's been adding it to a wish list, people that have been
Oh,
buying it. Yeah, and that's actually a big thing. I think feeds into the algorithm for exposure is like the number of people that wish list it. So when we were about to come out with the game, we hit up everyone we knew and we're like, "Hey, even if you don't have a VR headset, add this to your wish list. It'll help, bump us
hell
up a
yeah.
little bit being a tiny indie developer." But it doesn't have as much info on like demographic stuff just because I don't know that Steam collects that sort of data.
They collect fucking everything. They just don't tell you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, their sales tools are great. Um, so we're able to kind of see, and like when we did our little Facebook ad campaign push, also if you throw things on sale, you can, you know, look at charts that show how many sales you made during that, how many people wishlisted.
I was
Things
gonna
like
ask because we see all these crazy sales sometimes on Steam. Well, they used to be more frequent and more extreme back in the day. But do they talk to you guys about it, or they just put it on sale and that you get the full amount? Like, how does
No,
that work?
they usually send us an email blast, like the Steam summer sale is going to be coming up. So if you'd like to put your game on sale, and then we fill out, we don't even have to put it on sale, but they just kind of let us be aware of it. So, yeah, and we did that for this year's Steam summer sale, and we made a good amount more of sales, but like I said, being a tiny indie company, it's hard. We want to get
Yeah,
those millions of sales, but
yeah, I wish.
there yet.
No, like I've seen the game. You were kind enough to give me a couple of codes for the game to redeem, and a good friend of mine actually during that time recently bought a VR headset. I was like, "Yo, hey, listen, I got this dude. He's really nice. He gave me a couple of keys. Here's one. Try it out, and like, let me know what you think of it." Obviously, he's not much into guns and stuff, but he gave it a bash. He tried it. He played it for a little bit. He's like, "It's a good game. It's just not for me." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Mm.
And when he streamed that stuff to the Discord, so I actually got to see what it looked like, and it's it's not your Crisis 3, obviously. It's not the most beautiful game, but it's unique. It's
Right.
cool and it works and it's a simulation. And I'm a huge fan of simulator games. I love that shit. So I know when I get a VR headset, the first thing I'm gonna do is play that game, and I mean this. Like I'm not saying it just because we're on the pod. I mean this. I'm probably gonna spend a good time on that game. I just love shooting guns, and
Nice.
I love realism. So for
Yeah, and
sure.
we're still wrenching on it because, like I said, we're still in early access. I mean, just a little over a month ago, we just converted our entire render pipeline so it renders better, performs better, and looks better.
Mm.
Um, and similarly, back to the UI UX stuff, when we released it on early access, I think we had 9 courses. Now we have over 45 courses. We also have
Oof.
like USPSA classifiers. Those are like very specific rule set. Like you go through these to be in the USPSA is the United States Pistol Shooters Association, I think is what it is. But
Like
so
what
yeah,
kind of rules are they? Like don't point at people.
They well for those like certain courses, you have to stand with your hands in the surrender position with your hands like above your head, and then go into start.
Oh.
Or other ones, you have to start, with your back to the course, and then once they give the start signal, you
Hmm.
turn around and go. Um, Shooting targets from one side or the other. It gets really, really specific, but they're kind of universal classifier rules that you go and run this classifier course in any state, it's going to have the same rule set. So,
Huh.
but yeah, so because we went from 9 courses to 50 something courses, our menu list, it was just like a list. So you have to scroll forever. So right now we're also working on rebuilding the UI so it's more intuitive and get you to where you want. Because we're
Mhm.
also adding different modes like trap and skeet. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like
I know
the
trap, but
shot.
it's not gun stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, trap and skeet is like shotguns where they shoot those orange clays in the air and you have to like
Oh,
trap
clay
them around.
pigeons.
Yeah, clay pigeons.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So
What is trapping then?
yeah, um, it's similar.
I know two types of traps, bro. I know traps with genders, and I know trap houses. But I don't know the third one.
Basically, that's what happens. The beat drops as soon as you pull the trigger.
But that's okay. I know three types of traps. I don't know the fourth one. Sorry. I meant trap houses in drug house, but
Uh, oh man, my coworker's gonna kill me for like not immediately knowing the difference between trap and skeet.
guess
Oh,
who's staying at home after the pandemic?
yeah, seriously. Um, I think that okay, so I think it's really the positioning in there. So when you're playing trap and skeet, there's these houses on each side that are firing out the clays.
Okay.
I think that trap, you're kind of static and shooting different areas, and then skeet, you're kind of moving to different positions in
Uh,
an arc.
okay.
I think. Yeah, Foss is gonna kill me. Anyway.
What pushes a game from early access or alpha or to beta to full release? What's alpha? What's beta? Why early access? Why when full release? Like
Right. Let's
what's
see. Alpha is just like the first cut of your game, and it's probably still really buggy. Beta is when you're planning to eventually release it. It's kind of a work in progress. You usually either do, a lot of companies will do a closed beta or an open beta. You see open betas for free a lot with the big
Mm,
games because they're trying to stress test their servers before they
yeah.
do a full release. So you'll see open beta for some Call of Duty game or something like that. And that's usually because they're pretty ready to release, but they want to get, thousands of players playing it at the same time across countries to make sure their network is robust and stuff like that. Um, the whole early access thing, that's kind of Steam's sort of open beta for developers. So um, when you release something in early access, you're basically saying, hey, this game is in progress. It's not yet done. We want you to play it. Tell us what you think. Like with our game, we have a Discord that we always plug when anyone buys the beta thing. Like, hey, we're on Discord. We're open to suggestions, and that's been a cool thing too. We have tons of shooters that are on there that are always giving us really cool feedback and really cool suggestions for future improvements to the game. So once you go into early access, you kind of like Steam wants you to kind of give a roadmap of what you plan to have in your game once it's ready for release.
Ah,
Um, yeah, so and it doesn't have to be strict because like we set I think 6 months for our early access, but there's games that are on Steam that they've been in early access for years,
that's
and
kind of where I wanted to like go towards with the conversation because I've had this conversation with a friend. We had this discussion with a really good friend of mine, and there are a lot more game developers now than there used to be, obviously, and
Mhm.
most of them are indie companies. Now, you said it yourself, money is obviously usually an issue. Games or indie companies pushing for example, with early access or alpha releases or beta releases, obviously, I assume that one of the main reasons to do that is to make sales and keep the production going. But
Yeah.
then, as you said, you got games that have been in beta release, early access for literal years. And that's why it surprised me when you said Steam asks for a roadmap. So is that them just being like trying to get around the legality of allowing that to happen? Or is it like them actually caring a little bit?
It's that, and they kind of want to, build this sort of uh, transparency communication with your potential customers, because you're
Hmm.
more or less getting them to buy the game before it's done. So um, they want you to kind of show that you plan to get it done. Um, So, and like I said, I don't think they enforce it like as soon as your early access time that you said is up, they're not gonna like kick you off the store or say, nope, you have to be fully released. You
Hmm.
didn't have these promises fulfilled. So for us with our early access stuff, we have almost everything done. We're building a course editor where you can build your own courses, but that is a larger undertaking than we kind of first anticipated. And a
What's
lot of
that?
it goes into the UX of it, like because in a 3-gun course, there's a start button and a finish button, and if you're switching from a pistol to a shotgun, then you have to have a grounding tub because in real world, like if you can't just throw a shotgun on the ground once you're done. They have they have like specific grounding barrels, you have to make your weapon safe and stuff like that. So we're trying to build this course editor so that a user who wants to build their own course can do it fluidly and without too much like tutorialized pop-up stuff that's constantly in your face,
I
That's
hate that. If you
right.
spend more than 10 minutes with me, the one thing I hate the most is number one tutorials, number two racism, like that type of tutorial. If you force me to play a tutorial, I will return your game instantly. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like I want to figure it out. If I can't do it, I'll go into your main menu and find it out myself. But
Right.
please don't do that to people, Sam. Please don't.
But I mean, it's a challenge. You have to have some stuff here and there. I mean, when you used to stream Planet Zoo, you didn't know right off the bat that you need uh I don't know. I can't even remember all the
Whatever.
different
Water.
yeah,
Yeah.
water or yeah, electricity, things like that. There was, but they do it really well, and that's Frontier that made that game, and they're an awesome company. I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever played Elite Dangerous, but that's like one of the best space games I've ever played.
I did,
But
and I
yeah,
spent too much time on it, to be honest. It's
all
a really good
right.
game, though.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, and so those sort of games is really what we're looking at as far as like how to hint at a tutorial without beating you over the head with it.
Yeah.
So
Like a pop-up is
yeah.
fine in the corner, like a hint. That's fine. But a forced tutorial, like in Rocket League. Like you open up the game after free to play, you open up the game, you get into and I almost broke my keyboard in half.
Oh yeah,
I
right when they switched to Epic, where it's like, here's how to jump.
It's like,
It's
come on, man. Like
yeah.
I get it, but at least don't force me. And then there's the forced match, and it's like, come on.
Yeah. And the worst is when they force the tutorial and they limit the functionality of the game to force you through that tutorial, like you can only jump right now. You can't turn or roll or anything because this is the jumping part of the tutorial. Yeah, that stuff drives me nuts. Just give me the full game. I don't know.
Yeah, just I paid for this. I've got thousands of hours on it. You can tell I'm an addict. Just leave me alone. Let me play the goddamn
Exactly.
game. Um,
Yeah.
so you said there's one more thing that you guys want to add to the game before release. Once that's done, are you obviously? I'm not asking you if you're going to abandon the game, but do you guys have anything else planned? Do you guys want to keep your eye on the current game? What do you guys have anything cool planned?
Yeah, so one of the other things that we added to the game was tournaments. So we do like
Ooh,
seasonal tournaments.
is it
So we
online?
definitely, yeah, yeah.
Oh hell yeah!
So there's like a running leaderboard, and at the end of I think it's like a 2-week stint. So we give everyone like 2 weekends to participate. Because right now, we have not too many participants, but you get like a little medal and everything, cool animations and stuff like that. But yeah, so once we're done with the early access stuff, we'll constantly be having new seasonal tournaments, building more courses, um, and more guns. That's really like a lot of the big feedback we've gotten because we initially when we started in early access, we had one of each gun type, just a pistol, rifle, and shotgun. We're coming close to having 3 guns of each gun type, which gives you a good variety. But yeah, I mean, especially in the shooter world, they nerd out on all sorts of guns, and that's always cooler to be in a virtual thing and like look at, oh,
Yeah,
this is
hell
like a
yeah!
real world gun, which it's almost exactly like the real world gun because we have to modify them slightly so we don't get sued or anything.
That's
Like
badass. Though.
this
If you
this looks
get
like a Glock, but it's called a Bear Tino.
still the block, like
Yeah, yeah.
getting
We'll
sued by Smith
adjust.
and Wesson is pretty badass, if you ask me.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's not something we plan to just drop and, give up on. But
Mm.
hoping to get past that early access phase fairly soon.
Yeah. So you being in the graphics design of it, so I assume you, for example, make the models for the guns and stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm working on one of the models of the guns. I did a lot of like the hand rigging and posing stuff.
Hmm.
Another of the artists on our team, he's awesome at hard surface modeling. So hard surface is like that designed, manufactured stuff. So he's done most of the guns. Um, he he let me take charge of modeling one of the guns, and it's taking me like 3 times
Do you
as
guys
long.
like
But
actually get the gun and look at it, or use Google Images? Like, or,
luckily, I own a pistol that's a very similar one. I don't know if you've ever heard of SIG pistols,
yeah, I have.
but yeah. So it's a SIG P320. The one I'm modeling is like this competition one, which is really cool. It has like a skeleton.
The P320 is a pretty small pistol, right? It's not that big. It's not clunky, right? It's pretty
It's
agile,
not. It's
nimble.
not. Yeah, I mean, it's about the
It's a
size of a
sports
Glock.
gun.
Yeah, it's a sports gun.
Yeah, it's a sport.
Definitely.
It's not like balaclava, run into bank type of stuff, like anything
I think.
off the street. It's a sports gun. Yeah, you can add a lot of stuff on that if I remember correctly. There's a lot of
Yeah, definitely.
customizations. Yeah.
Yeah, and they came out with this one called the Legion, which has like just the stock. It has a lot of like what the sports guys are using. Because another thing with shooting sports, there's really weird rules like, you can't modify this or you can't have certain accessories on it. And so they came out with a Legion that has that stock on it. So it's not modified, but it's basically modified stock. So yeah, it's people always like to bend rules to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
around them. But
I'm one of those people. I love that shit. It's
uh,
it's. I do it for the humor. I find it funny, just for my own amusement, like not just for show. But I'll bend a lot of rules just for my own fun. Like I'll be the only one knowing that I'm doing it. It's just like haha, like haha, got you.
right.
So yeah, of course. Like if it doesn't hurt anyone, like I don't see why you shouldn't. It's just fun. It's
Oh,
exploring. It's
totally.
I'm a curious person. I just love figuring stuff out. I love asking questions. I love listening to people that know more about something than I do. Like for example, with sports guns or range, I know jack shit about it. I know very little about guns. So this is just really interesting to me. I know nothing about game development. So I'm just sitting here like ears peaked, just listening and enjoying every word that you're saying to me right now. It's
Nice.
very intriguing.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
another funny thing with the range stuff too, because we built it. It looks like an actual Colorado range, but a gun range in Colorado is out like in the plains, out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like dirt berms all around with just like weeds and sagebrush. So it's not like the most exciting environment. So you show it to someone who knows nothing about it, and they're like, "Okay, I'm out in the desert." And then you show it to like an actual shooter, and they're like, "Holy hell, this looks like a real range. Like this is perfect." Yeah, and they're like blown away at how accurate it is.
yeah, everyone wants those beautiful mountains and trees and just like birds flying
Right.
around, rainbows everywhere. Yeah, I get
We
it.
did build a second environment that you're in the mountains, and it's kind of moving more into like this sort of fantasy thing because some of these courses are kind of winding in and out, and realistically that would be some millionaires personal range. They wouldn't have like a real range set up like that
You
just
can
because you're
have that in America. You can have your own range on your own property.
yeah,
Oh, I mean, it's a stupid question. You get to shoot guns on your own property. Of course, a range would be fine, right? Yeah.
right, yeah.
I saw this dude. Like, oh my god, you Americans are so fucking crazy, bro. I remember seeing this one dude. Like, there was an article with like an actual interview with the dude. My guy actually had a AA gun, like a stationary AA gun, like in fucking World War II, in his backyard, and he had the ammunition for it. And just like sitting there in a chair, like literally bent over, just turning around, like da 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 da. I'm
Is
sitting there
that
like,
the FPS Russia guy?
no, no, no. This was just like your average
Oh,
fucking Joe. Like your average, he just had a
oh,
fucking AA gun in his backyard, and the dude interviewing goes, "So why do you have that?" He goes, "To protect myself." I'm like, "You're gonna shoot a like what is this, North Korea? You're gonna shoot someone with an AA gun? Like what are you talking about? Just say I'm an enthusiast and I'll be fine with it, but don't bullshit me with it for
yeah.
security." Like,
It's my Second Amendment right.
love it. I
Protection.
love it.
It's wild.
That FPS Russia guy, what happened to him? I heard he got sick or in jail or lawsuit or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember either. I think there was some sort of like law stuff that came in because he was entertaining, man.
Yeah.
He would just shoot a gallon of water with like a 44 Magnum. Like, that is what the fuck I'm talking about.
Did you know he was actually full like fucking American? He was not Russian at all.
Yeah, that was like the funniest part of it. It's like, damn, you could have fooled me, man.
Yeah, I really thought he was Russian. He had such a
Yeah,
good accent. It's like, wow, surprising.
it's good
Um,
stuff.
what's one of the most fun things you guys have done? Like, what's the most fun you had while doing your job?
Um, I
Is-
mean, I get to do animation stuff, so that's always yeah, I always find ways to make it more fun, you know.
Do you always like add? Do you sometimes add like Easter eggs or just funny things that don't make any sense, and then your
Oh,
coworkers like, "What the fuck is that?"
right. So we made a Sims game for Walmart a couple years back.
Hmm,
So it's like you're playing The Sims, but you're a manager at Walmart, having to clean up messes and talk to customers and delegate tasks to people.
sounds
But
awesome.
yeah, so we had to make, an entire cast of just customers walking through the store, like old people, hunched
Oh,
over and, you know, women, children, and, angry men and stuff like that.
Karens.
But like, with the kids, I would make it so every once in a while the kid would stop and do like the floss dance or something like that. Yeah. Just random stuff that you wouldn't notice unless you're like following the little character around the
Oh,
store.
that's fun.
So yeah, it's always fun to kind of throw those in there.
That's great. Something's been catching my eye, and for people who are listening on Spotify, you're not gonna see this, but Sam's got something in the background, and what is all that stuff? Because it's not one of those pops. What are they called? Pop sockets? It's not one of those.
Oh, the
But
Funko Pops.
yeah, someone
Yeah.
bought one for me, and it's been sitting near my ceiling on top of like the highest cabin thing, whatever the fuck it is. And it's not my thing, but those things really draw my attention. What are
Yeah,
those?
yeah. So it's all designer toys. I got into it, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago now, but it's more like artists, indie artists, and stuff like that who just get into manufacturing their own toys, and it's kind of become a huge thing. I saw some YouTube documentary on it. And I just got super excited about it. I decided I wanted to make my own toys. I kind of learned how to do resin casting and
Ooh,
silicone mold making, but yeah, this is like a tiny set. I think I have what, like six maybe. The bottom two are the ones that I've made. But yeah,
can
let's
you move a little bit closer? Oh, never mind. Just
oh,
grabbing
what's
one of
that?
them.
Oh, I'll show you. So this is my toy. This is the little crow. He's a little gangster
That's
looking dude.
dope. Love
Yeah,
it.
I got all into it because a lot of these people, they're also like really well renowned artists just on their own. Like some of these guys are just awesome oil painters, and then they get into designing a toy, or some are like big graffiti writers. This is a guy, Vandal, and I
Oh,
don't know if anyone listening knows much about designer toy world, but Vandal is kind of turned into a bit of a pariah because he's starting all sorts of drama. Basically, he tried to go around some production company's back to do a collab, and it kind of blew up. And Now he kind of is just throwing middle fingers at everyone, but he's also blown up in the process. He's like selling more than he ever has.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, but I just love the design because I mean they're like just mini sculptures, but straight up toys.
Where can we get those?
I mean, there's a lot of toy stores online that do it.
They're like Vandal. What should I Google? Like a Vandal doll or toy?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. Sculpture?
designer toy. Yeah, yeah. If you just Google designer toy, there's a big hub called the Toy Chronicle, um, and they blog about all of it. They also have a storefront and usually links to like the artist sites and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, after I learned about designer toys, I found this convention they were doing in New York and just hit them up out of the blue. I was like, "Hey, I used to serve tables and do catering. You guys need help to volunteer?" They're like, "Sweet, yeah, come on down." So went over there and spent a whole weekend just volunteering and got to meet all the people who like run the behind the scenes of all of it. It's pretty cool experience.
That's something a lot of people don't do, especially over here in Europe. It's not very a mindset that people have to just for the experience, just because you like something to volunteer or spend time somewhere. That's a very, in my opinion, at least in my experience, at least, it's a very American thing, and it's one of the things I really love about you guys because you guys are very. The way I would describe it is you guys are very, what's the word? You give up something of your own, sacrificial. Like you guys sacrifice a lot to spend time doing something that you either like or enjoy, like whatever it is. That's a very big cultural difference that I noticed, and I really love Americans for that. You guys have a really good working or I don't want to say grind culture. Grind culture is a little bit. I think that's a negative word, but I really like that about you guys, man. You guys are really go getters. So like, fuck it, I love that shit. I enjoy that. I'm gonna spend time doing that. Just in my
Yeah,
free
I
time,
mean,
volunteer.
when I volunteer for this thing and they hit me back and they're like, "Yes, come on down." I was like, "Oh, now I have to figure out how to fly to New York and stay somewhere." I ended up staying like in a hostel in New York the whole weekend. So I was like, "Whatever, I'm just going to be volunteering. I'm going to spend all my time at this convention. I just need a bed to sleep on at night."
Did you feel safe at
So
least at nights?
yeah, well, I got like in this hostel, they also have like private rooms in the hostel, so I spent the extra $5 a night to get my private room. But yeah, it was a trip, man, and Brooklyn is always a cool place to be. So
Oh my! You went into
yeah,
a hostel in Brooklyn.
yeah,
You're not from New York.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
but I've been there a few
you
times.
and I should hang out. We're gonna have some great adventures because I love that shit. I don't care either. It's like fucking go. Let's go.
But yeah, I mean, I was totally naive. I mean, and that was a funny thing too when I showed up there, because I was just a gun for hire to kind of set up tables over here, put linens on this table over here, whatever. Another truck would come in, let's load up stuff here, build shelves. And I'm building this glass case and I'm talking to this guy who's kind of helping me out. I was like, "Oh, cool. So do you like toys? Do you make toys much?" And he's like, "Yeah, like my Instagram is American Gross and I also own Clutter." And Clutter was like the sponsor of the whole designer toy thing. So I'm like asking the owner, I'm like, "Yeah, do you like toys?" But the guy
Nah.
was super nice about it. He like calm as could be. He's like, "Yeah, I make it." Like, I think he was pleasantly surprised at how naive I was.
Oh,
But
that's cool though.
yeah, super friendly though. Yeah.
There was a video recently on the internet. I'm not sure if you spent time on Reddit, but there was this chick from Brazil and she was visiting Bulgaria for some reason, and she just pulls up somewhere and there's like this huge commotion going on and everyone's circling around this one guy and everyone's taking pictures. So she gets online to take a picture. She gets the picture taken. She's like, "So, like, who are you? You seem important." And the dude goes, "Oh, I'm not that important." Yada yada yada. And the girl keeps asking, "It's like, no, you are important because everyone's trying to get in touch with you, get a picture with you." Dude turns around and goes, "Yeah, I'm the president of Bulgaria," and he's just walking around with just a shirt on.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's just like casually walking around. Like that's
Just
so
rubbing
cool.
elbows. Huh.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. We have that
Nice.
with the king over here, for example. Like I live in the same city that the king usually resides in. So when I go to city center, like at least once a week, that guy's out there buying ice cream. So you just see him walking around with an ice cream cone in the middle of the city, and everyone's like, "Hi!" He's like, "Hi!"
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's funny.
I feel kind of ignorant. I didn't know Netherlands had a king.
He doesn't do much. He just, he lives off of our taxes and just waves at people, and that's all he
Eats
does.
ice cream. I'm
Eats ice
imagining
cream.
he's wearing a crown, just full of ice cream.
Yeah,
La
with
di
like
da.
those cloaks on from like leopard skin. Like, hi everyone.
Totally.
Oh, that's
Just a
great.
casual dude.
Yeah. No, he's nice. He's a friendly guy. Or at least he appears friendly. It's more of
That's
like a
cool.
status thing. It's not. It's not. It's not an actual king.
Sure.
It's
Huh.
like I think the only royalty that actually has a matter and is the same matter. I think right now is the Queen of England. I think the royalty died. No, it's
Yeah, I
not a
don't
real
know.
thing anymore. I don't think I would recognize any royalty other than the Netherlands and England. Like, yeah, no, I wouldn't even recognize them. I'd walk straight past them.
You wouldn't be getting a selfie with Bulgaria king?
Like, sure, I'm like, I'm not talking shit about the president of Bulgaria, but it's like I've got nothing. Like, it doesn't matter to me, Like,
Right. Yeah. It's a whole nother
Sam,
world.
what like the pandemic has hit a lot of people. It's gotten some people jobless. Some people have actually had divorces. Some people have lost friends. Some people have had made friends, gotten a job, and have actually gotten married, gotten pets. Other people have gotten rid of pets. How has the pandemic affected you personally and WinterBearStudios? Has it been more of a positive thing or more of a negative thing?
I mean, like everyone else, it was a weird, rough year. Uh, we kind of we were sort of hopeful at the beginning of it because of the nature of the work we do, virtual training software stuff.
Hmm.
So we were hoping for kind of like an uptick in projects, but I think at least in the US and I'm sure around the world, everyone just pumped the brakes on everything, you know.
Yeah.
So um a lot of a lot of our, busyness that we were fortunate to have before kind of slowed up. But, at the same time that allowed us to build our first self-published title doing that three gun ranges hot game. So that's a good thing to come out of it. Um, it has changed our work dynamic. We always, since we started, it was like seven of us in one big room. Like we really work well together collaboratively, just, having an idea or an issue pop up and just being able to turn around and be like, hey, can you help me with this? Or just ask questions, really good at bouncing off ideas. So having to go remote, there was a bit of like kind of a learning hump to overcome.
Hmm.
But also at the same time, we worked in one of these co-working spaces. I don't know if they have those in the Netherlands, but co-working spaces are like a lot of small businesses in one big area. So there's like a shared kitchen among like 15 different businesses or something like
They
that.
tried doing that, but it didn't really come off the ground. It was like you could hire like two desks in this huge area where there were like 40, 50 desks, and you could hire like two desks for like 3 hours, and you could go in there, do your job, and get out. And I assume people were like, "Why the fuck would I do that? I could just go home." Like
Right.
if my PC or my house allows it, I can just do that at home. So it kind of like faded away. So it didn't really actually happen over here. But I know what you're talking about.
Huh. Yeah, so we were in one of those places for years, but because of the pandemic, that entire co-working company had to shut its doors. Because really, I mean, sharing an office building is one thing, but sharing an office building with 15 other unknown
Yeah.
companies, that's like even more potential for some sort of spread because you don't know where they're from.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so now we're completely remote. We still get together sometimes, but we've kind of adapted. We're back up to, you know, production pretty close to where we used to be. But yeah, it's a little different now. It's kind of
It's
strange.
strange
Yeah,
because
definitely.
most people don't realize this until they're actually suffering from it. But we're very social creatures,
Right. Yeah,
and just going out and grabbing that 10 minutes of sunlight it can really change your day.
definitely. Which I need to remind myself to do more. Now I live in a basement, so I don't go outside. I turn white. So yeah.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Sam is actually Mexican. Like,
Just all the melatonin or melanin just seeped out of my body.
melatonin is a
Um,
sleep thing.
yeah, I know. Yeah, so I don't know. It is different. And like you were saying, I was kind of an introvert sort of guy, still social, but now that you don't have that day-to-day socialization, you're like, oh man, I didn't realize I needed this so much. Yeah, so
And it's not one of
it's
those things that you are instantly aware of. Like, like you're like, there is something wrong. There, I need something. I don't know what it is. And then once you get into a group of people, or like go outside and you see people, you're like, wait, I feel a little bit better now. And it's like, oh wait, I need to socialize. And just doing what we're doing, for example, it doesn't cut it. It's not it. It's different. We
yeah,
need to.
it's synthetic.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
definitely. Yeah.
It's strange. Do you guys think that you're gonna stay remote, or do you guys think that after all this stuff hopefully blows over, that you'll go back to the office?
Yeah, because that's another thing is like after we gave up that stuff, we realized, we don't really need it. I mean, the part of the benefits of this co-working space is like there's a conference room you could grab if you needed to bring a client in and have a meeting and stuff like that. And so those are kind of luxuries that
Mhm.
we've realized we don't really need them. Like we have like a client in-house meeting like once every blue moon. Everyone works through the internet now. It's a
Yeah.
Zoom call or whatever. So um, for the foreseeable future, I think we're gonna stay remote. Um, Also, one of the members on our team, he just moved to New Jersey, so we're in Denver, and he
Yeah,
can't just come
I
into
have
the office.
I have no idea how big the distance is. Like, how
We're
much is
we're
it?
middle of the country. He's on the East Coast, so that's like
I know where Jersey is. Thank God to Joey Coco Diaz. But okay, so that's like what 1,500 kilometers, I think, because I think the span of the United
yeah,
States is like 3,000 kilometers ish. That's a
yeah,
big. That's quite a distance. That's
yeah.
quite
It's
a
like a
lot.
5-hour plane ride. So
Yeah. Okay, that's quite a distance.
yeah. So, but I mean, and we've talked about that. Like, if it came to it, we could get an office again. But again, we're having to
Yeah.
put more money into renting a space where we all have to get up earlier and commute to. And
It's
Colorado has been exploding lately, so there's just rush hour all the time. So driving anywhere
hmm.
is at least 20 minutes in any direction.
Like, I don't
So
know how expensive it is to rent. Like, I'm sure you guys didn't own the building that you guys were working at, but it was probably rented. But I don't assume it was cheap. Like, for example, over here, if you want, like, even in an industrial area, if you wanna like rent a building with, like, let's say 5 or 6 different rooms, a small kitchen area and a bathroom, like that can hit 5 figures very quick monthly,
very
very quick.
quick, yeah, yeah,
That's very expensive. You got the light, you got gas, you got internet, you got all the other utilities. It can get really expensive. So it's like production doesn't really drop down to a halt, and if everyone working there is happy and can fulfill what they need to do, it's like maybe we don't really need it for work.
right, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and because of the lesser busyness that we had, we were able to save that rent money and
Mhm.
put it towards paying ourselves, keeping
Yeah,
keeping our own lights on.
yeah, exactly. That must be stressful though, like owning a game company, man.
It
Damn.
is a bit, definitely. Yeah, it's being an owner of anything is something I never thought I'd be,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
here we are, five years later.
Hmm.
It's going well though, and with our company, it's pretty cool because when we started it, we kind of decided we're all in on the ground floor, so let's all be owners. I've had plenty of friends who've come up to me and said, 7 owners in a company is not a good idea. You want one, maybe two people who are the
I said that to
owners.
you when you first mentioned. I was like, you don't want to start a company or own a company with more than 3 people because two of them will gang up
Yeah,
on you and kick you out.
right. But we all get along still.
Good.
Knock wood. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a knock on wood for you as well. I hope everything goes good. I hope everything stays good. That's scary though,
Yeah.
because I've got a business background as well. Like my dad used to own 2 restaurants. He was a bookkeeper in Turkey. God rest his soul. He's unfortunately passed away a couple months ago. But I was always brought up with like be your own boss, do your own shit, earn your own money. Like don't make other people rich. Like that kind of mentality. And when I went to business school, my dad always got it in my head like, oh, like finish your school, let's start a company together, whatever it is. Now I can help you with my experience, and you can just be your own boss, just decide what you want to do. And I came at a point in my life where I was like, okay, I want to start a company. I basically sealed the loan. I got that figured out. I got that promise. I got written on paper. I got 250,000 euros just like ready to pick up, basically. And I decided what I wanted to do. I wanted to open like a lunchroom where we sell like healthy sandwiches and paninis and just everything healthy but affordable. And on paper, it worked. I got a hold of all the wholesalers, all the products, and all the equipment. Figured everything out. I was just looking for a spot to rent, and the first place turned me down. Second place, second thoughts, I didn't want it, and then I just forgot about it. I was like, you know what? There is something about this that I don't want to do. I'm just not going to do it. So I stalled it, and my dad's like, listen, you got to do something. Either you're gonna get your own shit, or I'm gonna get it and just force it on your name, so you're responsible for it. And then around that time, I started with the Rocket League coaching just for fun, and then that just like disappeared, the idea. My dad kind of let me go. He's like, okay, he's young, probably trying to figure something out. 2, 3 years later, the fucking pandemic hits.
Uh,
And I see all these businesses that did exactly what I wanted to do, or in the same branch, just like shutting doors, like putting up signs on their doors, be like, listen, we're not gonna open for another 6 months, or we're closed forever. And these are companies, these are stores that used to sell sandwiches for the past 15 years. Like they're not
yeah.
small things. Like, wow, I dodged a bullet there.
True. Yeah. Restaurants were hit the hardest out here, man. It was a weird time for sure.
Very scary.
And I mean, restaurants in general is a tough business to get into,
Yeah.
like all the overhead just to start up something like that. But huh. So you almost pulled the trigger on it and
I
didn't.
almost did it, and like looking back on it now, like that would have really ruined my life.
Hmm.
Like I got to pay back to 250K, and then I've made expenses, and then it's a lease contract. I'm stuck on that building for another 2 years at least. Got to pay rent every
Yeah.
month. It's like, whew, that would have been terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. A loan like that would
Yeah,
have me quaking in my boots, man.
yeah.
That's one of the things with our company. I mean, we never took a loan until last year during the pandemic. They had those it was the PPP loan in America, which was like
Mm.
kind of a forgivable business payroll loan. So that was like the first time we ever took a loan, but it's because of the COVID stimulus out here. It's a forgivable loan, so we don't
Hmm.
have to pay back the crazy amount. But it wasn't a crazy amount of money we took out, but it sustained us. So
Good. That's the most
yeah,
important bit. What does the
yeah.
future hold for WinterBearStudios, and what does the future hold for you? Because I assume you're just happy with your job. I don't think you're gonna leave.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm loving our company and where we're at. Hoping to kind of get this range is hot game a little further along.
Mhm.
Um, like I said earlier, when we built it, we just really wanted a good feeling shooter. Um, that's also why we focus on a target range. Eventually, we have ideas for like a full-fledged shooter game that we want to
Oh,
do, but then
no.
um, we're gonna have to focus more on AI and enemies and stuff like that.
Okay, I didn't
Um,
know that. That's cool.
yeah, definitely. But those are also larger production things.
Yeah,
Um,
I assume so.
yeah. So with Range is Hot, we knew we could control the entire scenario because it's, mostly static targets. There's some moving targets and stuff like that, but it's not nearly the complexity that it takes to make a running gunning sort of shooter. But our guns are awesome. I think I'm biased as all hell, but I think it's the best feeling gun I've ever shot in VR. So we built that tech, we have that, and now we can like move to the next level of building a full on shooter. So
Man, I'm
that's
excited for you. I don't know what it is. It's so cool to finally talk to someone who's like in that business, it's just telling you all these things because it all looks so simple from the outside. It's like, oh, just a gun. Oh, just a dude. Oh, just a building that you walk into. But it's like so much more. It's like, and it gets even um, more intricate as technology evolves. Because now you got
oh
light
yeah.
shades, you got this, you got that, textures.
Yeah.
Like back in my day, we had like CS, was it Source 1.6, whatever. It's like Minecraft looks better today. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
and that was like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
that's
it's
the
like real
fun
life.
too. Yeah, like a lot of times I'll just in a game like The Division or something, I'll just walk through an alley like really slowly just to kind of take it all in just because like you said, the lighting and the texture and I mean in that game specifically, I saw a mouse fighting with a crow over a piece of bread.
Damn.
It has nothing to do with the game, but it was like fascinating to just sit there and watch this happen. It was, I mean, insane. But that's AAA games, man.
Yeah.
Our shooter probably won't have mice and crow fights.
Do
We'll
you
see.
appreciate other games more when you're in that industry?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Like, and again with the UI stuff, I'll pause and unpause a video game like 20 times just to see like, oh, see how it like folds out and shows the menu buttons. Yeah, seriously, I'll spend way too much time on that stuff. But
Oh my god.
just because you appreciate like what it takes to have that level of interaction or
Yeah,
bring that to the table. Yeah, it's pretty
that's
wild.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it when games do things like you said, like with the crow fighting the rat, or like small Easter eggs. Just like catch your eye, and you're like, hold up, is that so and so? Because like in that what's that game? Road. My friend played this game. Was it Road 96 or Road 86 or whatever? It's a story driven game. So you like make decisions and it just impacts the game. And you got to replay it like 5 or 6 times with different people. And one of those things, they just hint towards current politics, for example, and they make like these vague, like they point these fingers towards like, oh, it might be Trump, or it's like it kind of looks like Trump, and you're like sitting there like, is that like, are they having a go at like the U.S. politics and stuff? And you sit there
Ah,
like, there's a high problem. I love those subtle things, the small details in games. It's like just
all
happen to
right.
catch your eye, and you're like, you cheeky motherfuckers. Like,
Totally.
I
Love that
love it.
stuff.
Yeah, like in Rocket League, you have that with on the farm map. If you get it underneath one of those stands, you see two of those eggs making out with each other.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Huh. I need to check that out.
yeah, definitely. If you got a replay in that map, just go into one of those stands underneath it with the flight camera, and you'll see two eggs making out with each other.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, like say when I started playing Rocket League, I nerded out on the stadium fans and all the environment around it more than I did the actual game. It's ridiculous.
what's your favorite topper?
My favorite topper. So my game character is I'm Date Mike from The Office, and he wears like that backwards Kangol hat. So that's my go-to topper in that game.
I love The Office. It's one of the
It's
funniest shows out there.
I love it. Yeah, I just started another lap on it the other night. I think I've watched that series, I don't know, at least 8 times. Me and a
I love
buddy
how.
used to go and do trivia nights for The Office.
Oh,
Make
really?
custom shirts and the whole thing. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's a really good show. It's really fun. It's dry humor. I love how they fuck with him. What's that guy? Dwight. How they fuck
Oh,
with
yeah.
Dwight constantly. Like Dwight and Michael are by far the best characters in that show. I love that show.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
great. Yo, Sam, do you want to slowly draw an end to it?
Sure. Sounds good, man.
Okay. You got any shout outs, any social medias of yourself, WinterBearStudios that you would like to pop out there?
Yeah, I mean, range is hot. We're still in early access. So that's the biggest thing that we're trying to plug right now. It's if you got VR, it's a hell of a lot of fun. My own stuff, which I haven't kept on. I'm Crow Pickle. Let me see if I can find a sticker. Well, we're on a podcast, so it doesn't really matter.
We can always put
But
those things in the description. That's no
right.
problem at all.
So there's Crow Pickle.
Oh
My
my
handle.
god. You made that thing yourself, didn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's my design, buddy. But yeah, Crow Pickle. I'm on Instagram. I just got to work on the Meow Wolf Denver building with some friends. I don't know if you ever heard of Meow Wolf, but
No.
it's a cool, like, psychedelic interactive art exhibit sort of thing. They built a 5-story building in Denver, and me and 2 of my buddies, we got to paint this giant mural on the outside. So
Oh shit.
yeah, so if you ever come
So
to
you
Meow
paint
Wolf,
as well. It's not just digital art.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
a cool motherfucker.
and spray paint, a lot of stencil stuff. So
Oh
it's pretty
really?
fun.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Now you really got my attention. Fuck, we gotta talk about that next time. That's really
for
cool.
sure, man.
Oh, that's
Definitely.
really cool.
Yeah, I'll have to show you some pictures of the mural.
Oh,
But
please
see
do.
what you think. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming out, everyone. Thanks for listening. This was Sam Caudill. Said it correct this time.
There you
And
go.
thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time. Peace.
Thanks. Peace.